Hey everyone, welcome back to Bible Bits. We have a long reading today. We're going to read the entirety of chapter 13 of Genesis, so bear with me. We're just going to jump right into it. Genesis 13, starting in verse 1. So Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the Negeb. Now Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold, and he journeyed on from the Negeb as far as Bethel to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, that is, in the last chapter, between Bethel and Ai, to the place where he had made an altar at the first. And there Abram called upon the name of the Lord. And Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, so that the land could not support both of them dwelling together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. At that time the Canaanites and the Perizzites were dwelling in the land. Then Abram said to Lot, Let there be no strife between you and me, and between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are kinsmen. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself from me. If you take the left hand, then I will go to the right, or if you take the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw that the Jordan Valley was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt in the direction of Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself all the Jordan Valley, and Lot journeyed east. Thus they separated from each other. Abram settled in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled among the cities of the valley and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were wicked, great sinners against the Lord. The Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land that you see I will give to you and to your offspring forever. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so that if one can count the dust of the earth, your offspring also can be counted. Arise, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I will give it to you. So Abram moved his tent and came and settled by the oaks of Mamre, which are at Hebron, and there he built an altar to the Lord. A long reading, but an important one, because if you remember in Genesis 12, Abraham had made a mistake. He didn't trust God. He'd gone into Egypt, and he was afraid that the Egyptians were going to kill him to try to take Sarah, and so he had lied. God had brought him out of that situation. God had covered his failure. But Abram still needed to learn that lesson. He still needed to realize that God had to be trusted to see him through at all times. Not simply when things look good. When you're walking through a fertile land where everything looks great and, the trees are full and the rivers are flowing, not super hard to trust God in those moments that everything's going to be okay. But when you're walking through Egypt, or when you're among wicked people, like, say, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, it can be a little harder to make that choice. I think we can all agree that happens in modern day. When our bank account's full, when our house is nice and all the bills are paid and food is on the table, not super hard to trust that God's going to take care of us. It's when things are tough, when trusting God gets hard. But Abram seems to have learned that lesson. Notice that he says to Lot, you pick which way to go. You decide which one you want. Because Abraham seemed to have realized, whichever way I end up going, God is going to take care of me. So he gives Lot the benefit of the doubt. He said, hey, you pick the direction you want to go in. Go that way. Wherever I go, God will take care of me. And of course, God does. When Lot separates, Lot picks what would seem to be the better place. He goes towards cities where there are more people to take care of things. Of course, we know in the end that Sodom and Gomorrah end up not being the right direction. They end up being destroyed because of their wickedness. So really, Lot didn't choose the best way in the end. But in terms of the human eye, it probably looked better going that way. More food, more people to trade with, more people to hire and work for you. It seemed like the better road. But Abraham was trusting in God. Today I want to challenge you, not so much from the aspect of trusting in God as in when things are going hard. We've talked about that before. We'll continue to talk about it in the future. But I want to challenge you to make a decision when things look good for the betterment of other people. Abraham told Lot, you pick what looks best to you. You take the better portion. You take the better half. That is so antithetical to the American way, isn't it? You give us two choices, one good, one bad. What do we choose? We'll take the good one. Other people can deal with the bad one. Oh, I'm up for a promotion and so is the person next to me. I'm taking the promotion. They can go find another job, or they can just work harder for a few more years. Maybe another one will open up. We get a little extra money in our bank account. Well, I'm gonna invest that rather than, giving it to someone in need. But Abraham chose a different path. He said to Lot, you take the better portion. You take the one that looks best. I will trust in God to see me through. In the end, Abraham ends up with a much better portion. And in fact, that's a lesson Christians, I think, need to learn. Oftentimes, we make decisions selfishly. We make decisions based on what we see right in front of us, and we choose what we think is the better option. But that doesn't always mean it's the option God has for us, and in fact doesn't mean it's always the better option in the end. Abraham could have chosen. He could have said, let me go down to the fertile Jordan Valley. I'll be near Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot, you go over that way. Which means that in the future, Abraham would have been the one who had to flee from the city. Abraham would have been the one who had to deal with fire falling down and the potential of being destroyed because he was so near to wickedness. It may have seemed like the better choice at the beginning, but in the end it would have been worse. Oftentimes we make our decisions based on what's right in front of us. One looks good, one looks bad, and that's what I'm going for. But I want to encourage you today, seek God in whatever it is you do. Lean on God, whether it's through prayer or through study of Scripture, whether it's looking at an opportunity and saying to yourself, one of these opportunities in terms of the world's view, offers more money, offers more goods, but will require me to be closer to wickedness. And the other may not offer that, but it gets me closer to God. Choose what brings you closer to the Lord. At a bird's eye view, in the moment, it may not look like the right decision. But I can guarantee you in the end, it leads to the right place. I can say that because I've been through it many times myself in my life. In fact, if you ask any older Christian, someone who's been a Christian for a long time, which worked out better for you, when you chose your own way or when you followed God's path, even when it didn't look like the right direction? They will universally say, when I chose God's path. Because it always led where I needed to be, not where I necessarily wanted to be. And where you need to be is where God blesses you, where God puts you in His plan and gives you exactly what His desire is for your life. So I want to encourage you today, when you see the land before you, don't pick just based on what looks best to your human eye. Lean on the Lord, like Abraham did. It will turn out better for you in the end. That's all we have here for today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everybody.